because of how well you did in school. You're going to get more or less depending on how well you did in school. And the more aid you get, merit or otherwise, the less you have to rely on, out of pocket to kind of fund your education. So it's very important.
Let me ask you, how much debt do students have when they graduate?
Good question.
Because today a lot of students are talking about they pay back their loans for years and years after completion. And I understand now, because of the loans, to keep the government or keep the it was National Direct Student Loan when I was in school, so you know how long that was, NDSL, and then we had the BEOG, the Basic Pell Grant. So a lot of students, they just go on to continue their education after they receive a bachelor's degree so that they don't have to pay that debt. So eventually it all comes to a head, But how much debt do students normally run into?
National average right now, folks tend to graduate an undergraduate program with about $26,000 worth of debt. Now, in HBCUs, we're slightly above that, about $28,000 in debt. And I think you can attribute that mostly to the financial situations of our population. Most of our students tend to be in the highest need category, and so because they're high need, they tend to have to rely on loans more so than the general U.S. population. But I will say this about the student loans. Number one, you can avoid student loans by doing very well in school and getting good grades, getting yourself some merit aid, being proactive and going out and researching scholarship opportunities well in advance of coming to college or university. But you can also, kind of stem that tide really by taking time now to start to set money aside, even if it's just a little bit, so that you have something to bring to the table when it comes time to pay for college, which is not easy to do, but it's really a matter of discipline and a desire to really see that through.
Goes back to that determination.
Yes.
As far as the scholarships are concerned, if you go onto my website, which is hbcude.com, you can see that there's a list of scholarships for HBCU students. So go on the website again, it's hbcu.com. Can you bring that up on the screen? hbcu.com, if you can.
And I should add for Delaware residents as well, if you go to the Delaware, State of Delaware site, you can click on financial aid at the State of Delaware site, and you'll also see a list of scholarship opportunities that the state offers, including the SEED program, Inspire. We have other programs like Aid for Needy Students, where we can give scholarship monies along those lines. We're constantly looking for new ways to fund our students. We're always out trying to find new opportunities for our students. But there's no substitute for hard work. You got to really want it. You got to go after it.
So there's a lot of scholarships. I understand a lot of students don't look at the scholarships or apply for the scholarships because there's a writing process.
Yeah, many of them will ask for an essay, but think of it like this. If someone was going to pay you $5,000 to sit down for 2-3 days and write a paper, would you do it? I would.
I would.
And so, it's about a mindset. If you did 8 applications and only 3 of them came through, but you got $5,000 a piece, that's a pretty good day's work. $15,000 for 3 days?
Yeah.
And I'm overgeneralizing, but I'm making the point that, we leave money on the table all the time because we don't want to go through the paces to get it. And it's unfortunate because the money's there.
Right.
People just don't take advantage of it. Funding education is important. We know national average says folks will graduate with a bachelor's degree in about 6 years. So on average, if you're an average student between life and school, it'll take you about 6 years to get through college. So as much money as you can stack up to prepare yourself for that journey, the better off you're going to be, because most people leave either because they've not been able to do well academically or they don't have the money to pay for it.
So I understand today there's I don't know if there's a 6-year program, but I understand there's a 5-year program.
Well, every program, not every program, but most programs are set up to be a 4-year program.
Yes.
Statistics, however, say that on average, you can expect someone to get through a degree program at the latest 6 years. So that's undergraduate. Now, there are some programs that are built as 5-year programs, and you end with a master's degree, and that's all fine and good. I think it was alluded to earlier, you got to have a plan. As best as you can figure out what major am I pursuing, and get on a track with that. Be in contact with your advisors. Make sure you're taking the right classes so you're not wasting money, wasting eligibility. Okay, that'll help you to graduate on time and save you a bunch of money.
So the timeline again is March 15th?
March 15th is the priority deadline for the FAFSA application.
Did you hear that out there in television land or in the community? March 15th deadline for your financial aid. So put in your application. According to the application, there are some areas in the application that parents don't understand. Could you kind of talk to me about the
Absolutely.
Like they have different areas of the application. Parents don't understand it, students don't understand, and then they're upset when they get to the campus, and we're going to talk about that a little bit too in a minute.
Sure.
But can you explain or talk about some of these different areas of the application?
The FAFSA literally is an acronym. It's the Free Application for Federal Student Aid. So the first thing I have to say is, don't pay anybody to do a FAFSA. It's a free application for federal student aid. So if you get onto a website that says that they'll do it for you for a charge, you're in the wrong place. The web address that you want to go to is fafsa.ed.gov. It's free. Now, the application is designed to take household information to determine what your eligibility is. How much does a student really need from this household to go to college? And based on household size, number of members in the house that are in college, household income, assets, things of that nature, and some algorithms, it generates a number called an expected family contribution. And that number, that EFC, essentially is what financial aid administrators use to know how much Pell, if any, they're eligible for, to know how much direct sub and unsub loans they're eligible for. The subsidized loan being a loan that the government is paying the interest on while you're in school, unsubsidized being a loan where the interest begins to accrue from the time we disperse it. So the FAFSA application itself is really point and click. It used to be very difficult because it was a long paper application and you could very easily make mistakes. Now they've got something built in called skip logic, where as you answer questions in the application, if they determine based on your prior answers that the next section doesn't apply to you, it just bypasses it altogether.
Cool.
It also goes out to the IRS and grabs your income tax information and puts that into the application for you so that you're not given the opportunity to put in wrong numbers in wrong spots to give an inaccurate account of your EFC. So it has come a very long way. What I would say to you is, I've known many institutions, ours is certainly one of them, who's more than happy to sit down with you and guide you through the FAFSA if you have questions. Certainly when it comes to us, we'll process and follow up with you to let you know what other things we may need. But I can't stress how important it is to do it early, because if your application comes to us and the Department of Education selects that application for verification, we'll be required to collect some documentation, and that process can take time. And so you don't want to wait until right before you're ready to come to class in the fall and you haven't turned in documents. So do it early. The early bird always gets the worm. If discretionary aid gets applied, those monies run out if you wait very long.
Awesome. I would like to see teachers become trained or professional developed in financial aid so that they could share with their students when they're filling out that application. Or high school counselors. I don't know that they do that, but I think that would be an awesome idea for the counselors to go to the financial aid officers speak to the vice presidents. This is what we need to do. This is important that it needs to go in. So to make it an easier transition or a smoother transition.
Delaware Goes to College. Yeah, and I appreciate
Really?
you. Yeah, Delaware Goes to College is an initiative that the Delaware Department of Education has launched. And essentially, they are pulling financial aid administrators together from all over the Delmarva area to come to the 3 counties and help either on a panel or in workshops, help parents, teachers, counselors, and other folks come and see the application, understand what it takes to complete it, get those kinds of questions answered. And so I know that there are several dates that are coming up in the month of February, and I can make sure that we get you that information.
Please.
But lots of efforts are happening around this because we know that funding is a big barrier for education. And so they're doing a nice job with that.
I like to do a college fair. You know, like we have a lot of college fairs. How about a financial aid college fair? You know what I mean?
Sure.
Where they just talking about strictly financial aid. Admissions, I don't hear a lot of complaints about, but I do hear a lot of students talk about the financial aid lines when they are at school. I had a student, she attends Norfolk State University. She left and she went down. She just stepped out on faith.
Yeah.
And she was pretty much living with her grandmother. And they said that her aid was ready or something. And then she went, took her money, got on a bus, went down to Norfolk State. And they said her aid was ready. So she received partial aid. So she had some of it, but she didn't get all of the money. So they were talking about putting her out of the dorm. If she didn't have her money by the next day, they're going to kick her out of her classes. She can go to class. So it was hard for her.
Sure.
As far as Delaware chapter, we were able to send a $500 scholarship to Norfolk State, and I just called, to Norfolk State, talked to financial aid. She was at the end. She was able to get in, but it's just a lot of students. They go to college and thinking everything's okay, and then their money's not right. Mm-hmm. So the lines, why are there so many lines, or why are the lines so long and it's so time consuming?
Sure.
And I'm pretty sure you may say, well, dude's to the early bird gets the worm. But I'm just curious, why are the lines so long? Because it was like that when I was in college.
Sure. I think the fairest thing to say is that when it comes to financial aid, it truly is a partnership. And I mean that sincerely. It truly is a partnership. I think as administrators, we have to do a good job of being clear and communicating effectively what's needed when. I think the partnership really comes together when the families and students are bought in to that process and participate early. And it does sound a bit cliche, but we have to understand that Title IV aid, financial aid monies, are ultimately funded through taxpayer dollars. And so there's very strict accountability for how you award these programs. And so you have to check all the boxes. And, as administrators, we're given very little leeway when it comes to the requirements. We have an annual audit every year. Every financial aid office at every institution that participates in Title IV funding gets audited every year. And we're held to strict accountability for the awarding of these things. And so if we're not on our P's and Q's and don't require the documents and things that we have to have, then we risk Title IV funding for the entire institution, which means nobody gets aid at that school. And so when you have those kinds of stakes to manage, you do the best that you can to equip the families to get what they need done and get it done early so that they don't have those last minute situations where the lines are long and all that jazz.
Okay. Work study. Is work study a part of financial aid?
Yes, it is.
And if I'm a student and I have work study, I have work study job somewhere on campus, or maybe off. Is there work study off campus?
Yes, there are some situations where work study can be approved off campus.
So
yes.
if I'm a work study student, how many hours am I required to work per week?
We typically will limit, we don't require any maximum, but we will limit you to 20 hours a week. We don't we don't want your work-study program to take priority over your studies. So about 20 hours a week is what you could expect maximum. We do offer it. We have federal work-study. We also have work-study funds that come through the state of Delaware. In those situations, students will apply for jobs on campus, around campus, and they'll work right alongside their studies. And it's unique in that it's the one program in financial aid that you're actually earning your allocation. So whereas you may have a $5,000 Pell Grant, that is what it is. You know, half of that's going to go fall, half that's going to go spring. If you have a $5,000 work-study budget, you may or may not work up to $5,000 worth of work-study because you might not work that much. So, you know, we have to constantly look at that and reconcile that to make sure that we're giving, you know, as much of it out as we can, helping people to, you know, further and fund their education, those who need it, and obviously those who don't need it, we want to reallocate to those who do.
Excellent. Speaking of work study, we, the Norfolk State Alumni Chapter, Delaware Chapter Incorporated, are working on our leadership conference, which is coming up in July. We are out working right now to generate money to help support the leadership conference. So what we're doing, we are hosting a cabaret at the Belvedere Fire Hall on March the 7th from 9 o'clock to 1 o'clock. Tickets are $20 a piece. Go to my website, hbcude.com, for more information. And with that, I'm going to go to a break. Thank you. Welcome back to the show. Delaware State University, Dover. Is there a Delaware State University in Wilmington?
Glad you asked.
Okay.
There is. We actually have 2 other locations. It's not a campus, but we have other locations. DSU at Wilmington, we recently acquired the old Kirkwood site and have rebranded it DSU at Wilmington, and are launching this spring with 5 graduate programs. And I just want to make sure that I get them all right. We have educational leadership, social work, sport administration, our MBA program, and public administration. So it's specifically geared towards students who are interested in their master's program. We sent a big blitz out just before the Christmas holiday to get students to enroll, and you can still enroll now.
And you're on Kirkwood Highway?
Yes, we are.
Maybe somehow they can partnership with the YMCA on Kirkwood Highway, and maybe the Kirkwood Highway YMCA can support Delaware State and start a partnership. See, that's what it's about, building the community to impact the kids in the community. That's awesome. What's the tuition, or do you know of a tuition for the Kirkwood Highway site?
I think we were doing a special rate for our DSU at Wilmington, and you can go to our website. We actually have a web presence. It's desu.edu/Wilmington, and all of that is there.
DESU/Wilmington.
desu.edu/Wilmington.
Okay. So financially, they have a program on Kirkwood Highway for you Wilmingtonians, if you do not select or choose to go down to Dover. Excellent. For the financial aid component, is there a work-study program that would be held at the
Wilmington
University campus?
Well, that's a little bit trickier because
most
of our graduate students are working full-time adults, and so they're not really looking into that. So it's not quite apples to apples there, but you know, it's the same FAFSA application no matter which campus you attend, no matter which institution you attend. Graduate funding is all student loans. There are no grants available from a federal standpoint for graduate study, and so you would still need to do the FAFSA to have your need determined, and that would essentially let us know what your eligibility is at the master's and doctoral levels.
How about a tuition payment plan? Are students eligible, or can students go on a
Yes.
payment plan?
Yes, and again, I go back to the early bird gets the worm. The earlier you know that you need to make arrangements, the better to do so, because you can split it up to 6 ways if you do it early in a particular semester, versus if you wait till later, you maybe only have 2 payment months, if you will. So the larger your balance, obviously it's better to spread that larger balance across 6 payments than it is to spread it across 2. But yes, you can do that through our student accounts office. They have a partnership with Nelnet, and you're able to set up payment arrangements. The first payment is due at the time that the payment arrangements are set up, and then you have a subsequent payment each month until you've satisfied the balance.
Do you practice front loading on campus or front loading on grants?
Well, meaning a bunch of grant monies up front and then not so much in the end.
Exactly.
Well, I'm not going to say that we have a practice of doing that. What we try our best to offer as much as we can up front to everybody, and then we also, through the foundation and other sources, look for funding opportunities to keep our students, to help them persist through to graduation. And so we're in the middle of a process now through our scholarship leveraging to figure out ways to find more and more resources for our continuing students.
Are part-time jobs available for students who don't qualify for work study?
Yes. Well, and I should qualify that. If they don't qualify for federal work study, they may qualify for the Delaware State, the state of Delaware work study funds. And so we have several students who work in those ways. We even have a few students who work for departments in the institution and are paid out of their departmental budget. So there's a lot of opportunity, I'll say, with that.
And we even have a student employment office on campus that's housed in career services. So like Stephen said, if it's not through our financial aid office, they can direct students to different jobs on campus.
Awesome. So there you have it for Delaware State University. If you have any questions, you can tune in to Delaware State University's website.
Absolutely. We are desu.edu. And I would like to invite the community, if you haven't had an opportunity to visit campus, to come to our open house on April 11th.
April 11th, open house.
Open house.
Excellent. I understand that there's going to be a college fair put on by the City of Wilmington, Parks and Recreation. I'm on their college readiness committee and putting together a college fair in Wilmington. Hopefully that if you can't come, maybe you could send a officer or someone from the financial aid and the admissions office, because there's tens of thousands of kids that are interested in going to college in Delaware State, Norfolk State, any MEAC school. By the way, are you going to the MEAC tournament?
I don't
Hope
know.
to get down there and cheer on the Hornets.
The cheer on the Hornets? Well, you do know that Norfolk State University is ranked #1 right now
We do now.
in basketball, well, along with North Carolina Central. But see what I mean? And these are student athletes who are doing well.
Sure.
So now, when you think about it, the student athletes are on scholarships. So that leaves the door open for some of you who aren't student athletes. That means apply early.
Yes.
To be early is to be on time. To be on time is to be late. And to be late is not acceptable. So you must apply early in order to get your financial aid assistance.
March 15th, priority deadline.
March 15th. Now, I just want to make a couple announcements prior to the show's ending or completion. We should support businesses throughout the country, and we as African American really should support businesses that are created by African American And I'm not saying that you don't create or work for other businesses. I just think that we should all collectively support. And there's a way back Jake's Hamburger restaurant on Philadelphia Pike, and the hamburgers are delicious. I just want you to tune in, go to the Jake's Hamburger on Philadelphia Pike in Claymont, Delaware, and try. In fact, he's doing a lot. The gentleman at Jake's Hamburger, he's doing a lot of promoting his company where you can actually do fundraisers with him to support. So students, go eat at Jake's on Philadelphia Pike. You'll love it. Are there any other things that you would like to say about Delaware State University prior to us going off the air?
We just really appreciate the opportunity to come in and spread the good news.
I thank you kindly.
And thank you very much for having us here. We look forward to seeing many of you come through our doors as Delaware State University grads someday.
Excellent. I may try to enroll in the doctoral program at Delaware State University.
Come on down.
Come on down.
Do I know it? Do you have financial aid for the doctor? Probably
Yes.
not. So I thank you for all that you do. Thank you for even taking the time out of your schedule to come here.
Pleasure.
And I look forward to working with you. They call it network, and I call it divine order, you know, where we could just get together. Hopefully that we as the HBCU Delaware Coalition could support, because it's not just about supporting Norfolk State, it's about supporting all the HBCU schools. Kids at Delaware State who are graduating may not have money. But if we have the HBCU Coalition work together, we can have some money. That kid may need $300, you know. And that's what this is all about. The coalition is to support. That's where the television show has come about to support our HBCU schools. I thank you again for all that you do in the lives of people. I thank you for tuning in to HBCU Delaware Talks. Out. Good evening.